Hey guys, it's Keith here and I'm back once again, and this time we're going to be using our Steel Talons once again, trying to redeem ourselves from our last battle. Gonna be fighting over in Ruda Forest here on the center, focusing on the Charlie sector in Ruda Forest. This game is a particularly fun one to watch, I think, as I am trying to remind myself of all the mistakes I've made in the past and trying to learn from that. So hopefully you enjoyed this one. Let me know in the comments below what you think, and I hope you sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. And with the start of the game, we're going to be bringing out double F-15C Eagle today to challenge the skies over the beautiful morning or maybe evening over in Ruda Forest. These Eagles are going to be my mainstay here for anti-aircraft battle here. We're going to be up against a single purple MiG-29K. Easy challenge for our F-15C Eagle here, especially when we have double of them. One of them is going to be taking to the low ground here, the other one covering up from high top. And it's going to be launching double Abrams towards the MiG-29, missing one. And none of our missiles actually hits the MiG-29K, while our F-15C Eagle gets swacked immediately from the skies from single hits from the enemy S-300 battery. So it's a terrible aircraft opener for us. And unfortunately we did lose both of our F-15C Eagles here, so we're definitely behind on scores right now as the enemy is already leading us by 920 points. The teammates Raptor also fails to take out the enemy MiG-29K, so check here, just saying Abrams are not real apparently. Nevertheless, we do have our frontline infantries as well as ground forces now pushing towards our objectives. In this case, in this match today, we're going to be fighting over the Charlie objectives primarily. In this section of the Ruda Forest here offers plenty of these high-rise buildings, these medium residential buildings as well. So we're going to be taking advantage of those and putting out some recon units here to keep eyes on that. You can see I already have them on hold fire mode just so that I don't expose them unnecessarily, because I've been making a lot of mistakes of not putting out recon units in my past games, and I've identified that that is a major issue. So ideally you want to have recon units, something. These units are going to be your eyes, your spotter, making sure that you know where your enemy is and being able to target them again. MTV here was initially trying to push into the Charlie objective with these double airborne squads here, but seeing that the enemy already has a presence inside Charlie, we're going to be diverting the MTV towards the left side into the forest there and offloading our airborne. Just need to get ready and build up our forces before we challenge the opponent over the Charlie sector. As you can see all throughout the map, our teammates now are fighting over their respective territories. As on our right flank here, neon green player struggling against the peach player, who's already being very aggressive, pushing up his units. Our MTV is going to be told to go back to base after offloading here, a little bit different from my usual playstyle where I bring in the Chinook and shift the supplies around. In this case, because we are already behind in terms of our forces here securing our lines, so we're going to have to bring in more units here to stabilize our front before we bring in the supplies. The second MTV here is going to be bringing out a weapon squad, javelin weapon teams, a cavalry scout as well as a mech stinger team. And the mech stinger team is going to be mech rifleman AA is going to be taking up high position in this high rise here just to cover us against enemy helicopters that might come pushing out. We're going to see that in a little bit. Weapon squad is going to be pushed in, and these weapon squads are equipped with the javelin launchers here, so adapt infantry for long range anti-vehicle engagement here. We do bring out a another Patriot. We also brought up a Patriot Pack 3 here. It's just going to be covering our skies. You can see I'm playing rather defensively right now, just because I don't have the necessary mass to push into the Charlie objective, so I don't want to be needlessly throwing my units away, contesting against an objective that I have no possible way of holding the ground. And it's vital to do so as well, because you can see on the right side here, neon green player has been completely pushed off from these buildings here securing our right flank, so we're in the danger of losing the echo position, the echo objective as well, being pressed hard by both the red and the peach player together. We're gonna really have to stabilize the front here, push these enemies out of our side of the the map here before we initiate our launch into the Charlie objectives ourselves. A-10C Thunderbolt II has been called in, and it's going to be punishing the Spetsnaz GRU that's taking up position on our side of the front, covering our Javelin teams. But with the enemy SAM batteries already up close here, our Thunderbolt is going to be taken up very quickly. The enemy is bringing out several helicopters right now, and our Mech Rifleman AA launches his final missile before being destroyed, taking down one of the enemy helicopters. So a lucky kill for us, and thankful to our teammate on the left side providing some long-range shore as well. The enemy still has a couple of Gvardi Motorstrelki here. These are exceptional units against the any vehicles that we might have with their RPG-29 launchers, I think. Very penetrative RPGs here. But our Airborne is going to be told to push into contact right now, and these Airbornes are actually not the standoff version, so you can see they are not equipped with the next generation weapons, and they're more adept at close range combat, so getting them into range into these Gvardi Motorstrelki is going to be helping us out a lot. But the enemy has a lot of presence here, as well as the other helicopter that survived the initial engagement is going to be pushing up against our Airbornes right now. So our Airbornes are going to be stressed right now and trying to get away. So we're gonna really have to put in the work here, but thankfully our teammates Cyclic here providing some long range machine gun fire support does eventually take down the enemy helicopter. And with the enemy helicopter going down, the red player has decided that it's not worth it to push further deeper into our side of the forest here, which is lucky for us because we don't actually have anything securing our lines on the left side. Our single M1A2 Abrams has been called up, and we're going to be using this very carefully right now. The enemy has already been seen using plenty of Gvardi Motorstrelkis as well as Spetsnaz GRU, so both of these units are capable of quickly eliminating my tank here, especially this M1A2 which does not have any APS. So we're gonna have to be very, very careful with that M1A2. Our Pack 3, unfortunately on the move, does not actually have its radar turned on, so the enemy aircraft manages to get away with its successful bombing run of the neon green players' units. So a very rough opener in the beginning of the match here for myself, but nevertheless we're gonna have to quickly stabilize our units here, stabilize our front lines, because the red player also has his forces rather hampered as well. As you can see, he's trying to maneuver his units around as our teammates, combat engineers here, is putting the hurt into the long range SSO, the standoff SSOs here. Tank is going to be pushed into position. It does strike one of the enemy boomerang, but with the appearance of the Spetsnaz GRU, we're going to have to move our tank quickly away from that front lines here, as the enemy is now sensing prey. It's predatory instincts now. As how M1A2 is going to have to quickly smoke off and retreat from the line. But what we do have are the Sheridans. The Sheridans are cheap, very cheap tanks here, and not going to be able to hold out against enemy armor, but what they excel at is anti-infantry. They are explosive, high explosive rounds. It's going to be able to provide a lot of damage into these enemy infantry squads, and it's going to be very useful for us when we want to dislodge the enemy position from these buildings here. More reinforcements already being brought up on the way, as our teammate has called in triple Brutus here, and sensing that that's the right play here, we're gonna have to bring in some long range artillery to try and stabilize and pin the enemy into a long range engagement. Sheridans moving into position here, as you can see, putting the hurt into the Spetsnaz GRU, but the Spetsnaz GRU does manage to get away and duck behind the building here, so we're gonna be doing the same and pulling our Sheridans back as well. We're lucky to have that M1A2 survive, and thankfully we did actually bring in a supply dump that is hidden inside the forest here, so our M1A2 is going to be pushed into that supply dump to get resupplied, repaired, as we want to make sure that we keep that tank alive for future engagement. Neon green player here also struggling just like me, holding down the center of the front lines here, as the enemy already has multiple objectives in their control right now, putting them at a +2 for objectives control, but also a significant amount of kills, more than ourselves right now. So we're really gonna have to put in the effort here to stabilize and get the points back into our favor here. As you can see, more airborne recce teams, recon teams are now being pushed into the echo objectives. We want to get eyes on where the enemy units might be hiding in, and more importantly, maintain that line of sight as well, as these airborne recce is going to be equipped with some laser detonators, and it's going to be useful for our Brutus as well as our teammates Brutus, as the Brutus does have actually the laser designated munitions here, capable of detonating their long range artillery targets into these buildings here. We're going to see that in a short bit. But you can see the enemy red player still has a presence here. The Spetsnaz GRU definitely a threat. As you can see, my airborne recce already laser designating one of the high rises at the back there. The red player has a couple of cornet teams in those buildings there, providing very long range anti-tank support and long range ATGM support. So that's definitely a very commanding position to be holding. As you can see, the airborne recce now designating the target, and our teammates Brutus guided munitions are now being hammered directly into the building right now. Our cavalry scout holding their fire is going to be keeping eyes on the enemy BTR as well as the boomerang, now just hiding behind the buildings there. So definitely just recharging the Spetsnaz GRU that we saw earlier before. Enemy Topans now launching their very deadly shells into our weapon squad, so our weapon squad's gonna have to pull back very quickly. Thankful to have that M1A2 Abrams now patched up. It's gonna be told to hold the edge of the tree line here, just waiting. Once again, waiting for more reinforcements before we can push into the Charlie objectives right now. Slowly but surely, however, we are slowly pushing the enemy back from our side of the territory here. With the arrival of the Brutus, it's gonna be extremely useful to push the enemy back. As much as I like to use the cavalry scout, so unfortunately our pack tree gets destroyed by the enemy ballistic missiles here. Neither our PVATs nor the pack tree manages to defend itself against the ballistic missiles, so unfortunately losing that pack tree is gonna be quite a blunder here for my side, as the enemy is also bringing out plenty of aircrafts to bomb our positions here. So we're gonna have to keep our units moving most of the time, and especially our long range artillery support weapons here. With the cavalry scout now spotting that the enemy SSO as well as most of its vehicles are now destroyed and in full retreat, we're going to be telling our weapons teams now to push up ahead, recapture those positions. That's going to be providing us the vantage point in order to launch their javelin missiles. As you can see, one of the weapon squads already launching its javelin missiles into the enemy boomerang. Left side here, the teammate green player here is struggling against the pink player in the Delta objectives. Ideally, we want to secure the Charlie position first, then we're going to shift left to help our teammate over on the left side. Nevertheless, you can see now with the support of the neon player here, both my side, myself and the neon player is slowly starting to push the red and peach players' infantry out of these buildings here. Excuse me. Now here comes the reinforcements that is gonna be tasked with assaulting the Charlie objectives. I now have double MCVs. These are mortars AMPVs, equipped with 120mm rounds here. So definitely gonna be useful against the static positions here. But what's more important for me, however, are the smoke rounds that is provided by these MCVs. So we're gonna be telling the MCVs here to provide a smoke screen for our units to push up against, as I did mention that the towers here, that once again I'm laser designating once again, has these long range ATGMs that are painful and very difficult for me to deal with. So using smokes to block line of sight prevents the enemy from striking down our vehicles, as we do have double AMPVs here equipped, loaded with a couple of mech engineers as well as an airborne squad. Gonna be tasked to push into the Charlie objective, as our Bradley now pops out from behind the building here. It's gonna be striking down one of the enemy BTRs with its tow missiles. The enemy, seeing our smoke, has started to pull back his Gvardi Motorstrelki here. We're going to be quickly moving our forces here over to the sides of the objectives here, using these buildings and the smoke for cover. We're going to be using or telling our infantry here to assault the objective and eliminate any potential enemy forces that are still in those positions. Enemy tries to retaliate by by launching a tornado battery here against our Bradley, but unfortunately none of our units are actually in place. But here we go, our forces now pushing into Charlie position here. Double mech engineers team gonna be using their thermobaric launchers as well as their shotguns, very close range against these Gvardi Motorstrelki squads. And the Gvardi Motorstrelki exceptional against vehicles, but against the anti-infantry units that I'm bringing in, they're not going to be doing much good for themselves. Pink player is trying to support the red player briefly with a BMP, but our units are in position. The tank now pushing up to eliminate the BMP, supported by our AMPV. A very aggressive push, a tactical aggressive push into the Charlie objective. It's going to be driving the enemy units away from that position. Unfortunately, we failed to cap the Charlie position before the first phase ends, so the enemy is going to be up ahead in terms of points by a factor of 2. With the enemy destroyed right now, we're going to be telling our AMPV here to quickly try to capitalize on any potential retreating forces here. We do uncover the fact that the enemy has a supply dump just behind these buildings here, and the enemy Chrysanthema. These are powerful long-range ATGM vehicles here, already resupplying from that supply dump. So our Brutus is going to have a target-rich environment right now. Just behind those buildings, it's going to be launching its shells to hopefully destroying and blowing up that supply dump as well. The pink player's BMP was in fact carrying a engineer squad, so our vehicles here is going to be tasked to hunt them down and destroy them completely. You can see the enemy was actually pushing or holding their BTR just behind those buildings here. So with the new mechanics here, the enemy is definitely using those BTR to resupply the long-range ATGM squads, and so the ATGMs did not actually need to go back to the supply dump to get resupplied. Nonetheless, we do secure our side of the front here, and we're going to be looking to see if we can support the player on the left side with his push against the pink player into the Delta objective. But before we can do that, the red player is already bringing out multiple BTR as well as a common tactic to be seen in the Motor Guard division here, the Motorized Guard division here. So we're going to be expecting a lot of these cheap, very quick BTRs carrying very powerful infantry to be ferried into a position. You can see the Spetsnaz GRU now having its BTR destroyed. It's going to be incurring the stress, but our airborne here is going to be just whittling it down with their rifles here as well as the grenade launcher. Double Gvardi Motorstrelkis, again powerful infantry against vehicles. It's going to be hunting down my tank, so our tank now is going to have to quickly retreat. Mech engineers unfortunately getting told to push out just beyond the tree line here, making the mistake of revealing themselves. Is going to be taken down by the enemy BTR. Our Brutus constantly just shelling that building there, preventing the enemy from using that building as a vantage point against any of our forces pushing into to support the Charlie objective right now. So double Sheridans now being told to push in, and I did make the mistake of pushing the M1A2 out even after knowing that the Gvardi Motorstrelki was hunting down my tank. But nevertheless, we're going to be telling the Sheridans here, and the Sheridans excel at destroying enemy infantry from range, so we want to be using them carefully against these enemy forces here. As you can see, we've managed to push the enemy units from this side of the front here. This buildings here is going to be garrisoned by my recon units here, providing myself a lot of information on what is going to be approaching into our positions over in Charlie right now. As you can see, I do have a cavalry scout as well as an airborne recce here, just holding down the center of the map, making sure that we keep eyes on any potential enemy movements here. The enemy is now pushing units into the Charlie objective, so we're gonna have to quickly move our reinforcements into position here. But unfortunately, I ended up moving in the Mac Rifleman AA as well as the Cavalry Scout into the Charlie objective. So these are not units you want to be having. You want to have inside close range assaults against the enemy forces here, especially against enemy Spetsnaz GRU. These units of mine are not going to be able to defend themselves long against these powerful specialist squads from the Russian side. All throughout the front, our teammates here doing exceptionally well at holding down the positions. We're struggling a little bit on the left flank here, but we're going to see in a bit how that is going to quickly change and turn into our favor in a bit. Teal player has been doing fantastic at holding the right flank here, fighting against both the peach as well as the purple player here. We're going to be bringing out the F-15EX Eagle II. Hopefully, was intending to target down the enemy Tor that had its radar on, but now with its radar off, we're going to be telling the F-15 to swing around and bomb the Charlie objectives here. And that was a fantastic strike by our F-15 Eagle. Unfortunately, the enemy S-300 batteries once again striking down our Eagle with minimal effort. So unfortunately, we do lose a very expensive plane, but the Eagle did its job, manages to bomb the enemy position here, forcing the enemy Spetsnaz GRU to now fall back into a supply dump. We're going to be telling our ISV here to push in to try and recapture the Charlie position. Our Slam Ram here just getting ready, turning its radar on in anticipation of the red players' helicopters now being spotted by our team here into pushing us. So Slam Ram with its radar on is going to find line of sight as well as the range here, able to launches its long range AMRAAM, I think. AIM 9? I don't remember actually. But unfortunately, unable to take down any of the red players' helicopters. So an unfortunate series of events here for us. You can see the red player is constantly just shifting, moving his units back and forth from these high rise, from these two towers here. So a Brutus has been consistently busy at just shelling these two high rises throughout the entire game. Our MCV now providing another smoke barrage. Before that, it was just trying to damage or hunt down the wounded Spetsnaz GRU that was trying to escape from our units here. But nevertheless, we do have more reinforcements now coming in, and we're going to be looking to secure the Charlie position once again and holding down that side of the front for our side. Neon player now pushing in his units, is going to capture the Bravo position for us, as the Peach player also has his units wounded now, dwindling, and is getting pushed back from the Bravo objective itself. So kudos to our Neon Green player on the right side here. Our ISV does eventually get spotted by these Gvardi Motorstrelki's teams, but our M2A4 Bradleys here is going to be finding the range as well as line of sight into the Gvardi Motorstrelki here. So I'm going to be telling the Bradley to just keep peppering into the enemy units for free. But here comes the enemy Cornet once again taking up the high-rise position here, so we're going to have to smoke our Bradley out and tell our Brutus to shell that position once again. But with our reinforcements now on standby and the enemy Gvardi Motorstrelki being wounded briefly, our MCVs now are going to be smoking that position, providing smoke to that position, so our infantry can once again push into the Charlie objectives and eliminate the enemy Gvardi Motorstrelki squads. Throughout this entire game, my focus was obviously the Charlie objective, so I want to have the surrounding area filled with supporting units, where my assaulting units is going to have the support from these long range units here towards the side. But I also want to have some forces here towards the left side inside these forests here, just to prevent the enemy from securing the position and eliminating the enemy forces here. Our tank now pushing up, and this one is the M1A2 V2 trophy, a tankier tank with the APS here. It's going to be providing us with a lot of support, especially against enemy vehicles and infantry inside this Charlie position. You can see now our mech engineers definitely easily defeating the enemy Gvardi Motorstrelki squad. Airborne Recce as well is going to be told to push up, and the Airborne Recce is equipped with the close range combat setup, so it's gonna have no problem eliminating the enemy BTRs. And with the enemy Spetsnaz GRU still inside the BTR, the enemy Spetsnaz GRU is gonna be incurring the stress here, as our mech engineer is gonna quickly wipe out one of the Gvardi Motorstrelki, as well as the second one. And our Bradley survives the day, and it's gonna be told to retreat back to the supply dump. So a fantastic engagement for us over in the Charlie sector. And now we do have a couple of AMPVs with the Airbornes now going to be told to push up left. But here comes the enemy helicopters once again. But once again, like I mentioned earlier, I wanted to have long range support assets here. And our mech rifleman AA is going to be providing some Stinger missiles into these helicopters here. The enemy makes the mistake of pushing his helicopters way too deep into our lines here. Our forces on the left side here, the Bradley as well as the tank, just striking down the last remaining helicopters here, so an efficient trade for us. Very quickly we eliminated both of the enemy helicopters that has been plaguing us from the beginning. Our mech rifleman A definitely had to pull back as the enemy is now launches his tornado, but here comes our reinforcements on the left side to support our green player here into the Delta objective. Now if you can see in the map here, the green player was actually trying to hold the hotel objectives further left side here, as the pink player was pushing quite aggressively. So our timely arrival with our airborne as well as the AMPV is going to support him in pushing and retaking back the Delta objectives for our team. Constantly our MCV as well as the Brutus just continues to shell the enemy position over the high rises here. But with our Charlie objective secured temporarily, we're not expecting any enemy reinforcements to arrive very quickly soon. So we're going to be pushing our vehicles and units here to quickly, or try to at least, overwhelm the pink players' forces and retake the Delta objectives for our side. As you can see on the score point here for phase 2, we are actually up very much ahead in terms of kill scores, and we're looking to capitalize on that with more objective score points. AMPV is going to be finding the enemy Euro here, quickly destroying it, but the more better or more expensive target here would have been the Panzer. So our AMPV is going to be charging out of the tree lines here, hopefully to end the Panzer's dominance over the skies here. But the appearance of the enemy Razvedka, and these are AT Razvedka ambushes here, so our AMPV is going to have to quickly dive into the tree line here, hopefully able to find line of sight into the enemy Panzer as well as the Tulpans that are shelling our position here. But bumping into the enemy BTR, we're going to be losing that AMPV as well. Pink player did push a lot of infantry into the Delta objectives, taking out one of our airborne squad here, but our AMPV was just hiding behind. Now we're gonna be told to push out and try to eliminate the enemy SSO as well as the Ogdamachiki squads. But red player once again playing with the Gvardi Motorstrelki division is going to be having access to plenty of these BTRs and boomerangs here, so quickly able to shift or push infantry into the Charlie objectives, once again securing that objectives for his team. So we ended up losing the Charlie objectives while our forces has been diverted to support our teammate over to the Delta side on the left side here. AMPV is still proving its value here. It's going to be destroying one of the enemy vehicles as our teammate here pushes in his Rangers RRC as well as the Straw team. It's going to be capturing the Delta objectives for us. But the long range SSO belonging to the red player is going to be a threat to our javelin teams here, so we're going to be telling our javelin teams to pull back here. Airborne almost getting caught by these Ogdamachiki squads. We're gonna have to quickly pull that airborne squad back out. This Bradley here was trying to find the Panzer that escaped our our kill there. Unfortunately, we're not gonna be able to find that Panzer anytime soon. Once again, more reinforcements now coming in to try and recapture the Charlie objective, and we're doing the same thing again with the MCV providing the smoke. In hindsight, I think the MCV smokes could have been done better if I smoked the open area where the high rises here was actually overseeing the open area here. But nevertheless, our forces now pushing in temporarily. The PVATs was also been brought into play here, and the PVATs, as powerful as it can be as a protection units against seed missiles, I think that sometimes I forget that the PVATs has a powerful machine gun, Gatling gun cannon on top of its hull here. So gotta be quickly melting down some of these infantry here. But here comes the furious charge of our units here, airborne as well as the mech engineers pushing themselves into these buildings here, uncovering the enemy's elite Spetsnaz GRU. Supported by our AMPV as well as the tank here, we're going to be quickly eliminating some of these enemy forces that are currently holding down the Charlie objective. Once again, we failed to capture the Charlie objectives before the end of the timer here, but thankfully we do have the Delta objective secured, and it's only a matter of time before we overwhelm the Charlie position once again. Our MCV smoke here is providing a lot of support and value for disturbing or dislodging the enemy position, keeping them always on the move or covering our units in advancing their own position into the Charlie objective right now. Brutus has been doing a fantastic work. As you can see, both of these high-rise buildings here has been utterly destroyed. It is still garrisonable, so the enemy is still using those buildings here, so we're gonna have to keep an eye on that as well. You can see the countdown timer now ticking down for the Charlie objective. That means there are no longer any enemy presence inside the Charlie objectives. We're gonna take that opportunity right now to push our units up in front to chase the enemy down and get into better positions. Our Sheridans is also going to be told to push up to provide some long-range fire support into the enemy infantry as well. Over on the right side, you can see the enemy cornet team is trying to move back into position into these high-rises here once again. AMPV as well as our airborne here is still going to be supporting our teammate on the left side here, and you can notice that my tank actually was in a perfect position to ambush the enemy BMPs, but with the enemy helicopter flying overhead right now, I don't want to be committing my tank needlessly without any AA support, and this is when my PVATs is going to be pushed into the objective, well, into position right now, supporting our slam ram here just in case the enemy helicopters comes in. The enemy starts to shell our MCVs here, so our MCV is lucky to be getting away from that, and here comes the pink players helicopters pushing in, trying to eliminate our AMPV, but our slam ram and PVATs is gonna quickly take that helicopter down. This leaves our SEP V2 trophy here free to push out into the open, overlooking the open field right now, as the enemy did have a anti-air missiles here. As you can see just over to the left side edge of the screen, a pink player's Spetsnaz GRU is now being destroyed by our tank. But here comes another wave of red vehicles here with more Gvardi Motorstrelkis as well as Spetsnaz GRU, no doubt. So our units here is going to have to quickly eliminate those forces. I'll pay attention to the artillery batteries here as well as the S300, as our teammate here suicides his plane and lands critical strikes into the enemy supporting assets here. What a beautiful bombing run by our teammate here. But as you can see, the enemy red player does have plenty of units now charging into, or already inside the Charlie objective, so our units were quickly overwhelmed, as well as the double helicopters now coming back for another round. But our PVATs and Slam Ram were still in position, and it's going to be taking care of both of those helicopters very efficiently right now. With the enemy S300 gone, it's time for the F-15EX Eagle II to make a comeback here, as our teammate has the same idea. Is going to be bringing out his Harrier, peppering one of the enemy units there, clearing the way for our F-15EX Eagle, which is going to be arriving right now. What a fantastic bombing strike by our F-15EX Eagle II. Lovely to see. Crucial bombing runs from outside. We're going to be telling our tank now to push into the Charlie objective to recapture that as well. AMPV still being a nuisance at the back here. It's going to be finding the enemy SSO, and it's going to be shooting down that enemy SSO as well. Pink player once again trying to assault into the Delta objective, but at this point the green player has plenty of units now available to hold that Delta position for our team. Our tank is going to be told to push directly into the Charlie objective right now, but with the enemy Gvardi Motorstrelki just temporarily showing up, we're going to have to see if we can catch that Gvardi Motorstrelki out in position. I did bring up the AH-64 Apache as well as the Kiowa to engage enemy vehicles from a long range. So we did see several pink players, several T-72. But I did make the mistake here of pushing out my helicopters too far, as the enemy does have an anti-air piece and it's going to be eliminating our Apache. Unfortunately for us, that was a painful mistake from my side. But nevertheless, our tank now is going to be engaging the enemy tank. Double Su-24 here with plenty of seed missiles on their wingtips. It's going to be launching one of it into our PVETs here. PVETs actually survives the attempt, so that's thanks to its upgraded armor. And we're going to have that PVETs pull back from the front lines right now. SEP-V2 trophy just dancing around the enemy forces here. And the Charlie objective has been secured, but it's a moot point because the enemy has surrendered. What a fantastic game. I think we redeemed ourselves with the Talons here, the Steel Talons. So we did end up with a 7,315 kills, 5,450 deaths, with finally a fantastic ratio of 1.34. Woo! So I think I'm slowly making a comeback here, getting the flow of the high elo level gameplays, and finally we're getting back into a good position for ourselves. So I hope you enjoyed this one, and as always, I'll see you in the next one, guys.